Mr. Morris?
I'm trying to think if there's any word that I would ban.
You said no, but you would not ban any word, and I guess,
I beg your pardon?
I mean, what I understand you to say is you would not ban any word, which means, in this case, Universal Music Group, under your leadership, would not ban any word in any of the publications. Is that what you implied? That's what your statement was.
Well, it depends on the context it would be used in, Congressman.
Well, I'm going to hand out to you some lyrics. It took me 30 seconds to pull up some lyrics for 50 cents. And you can read just the first two paragraphs of that. It has, as the chairman mentioned, it has the F word, the S word, the N word. We're also giving you lyrics we picked up in 15 seconds, the Cameron lyrics, which talk about explicit sex. And my question to you, in your mind, is this free speech to use these words and to talk about explicit sex in the song the way it is? You're welcome to read a few of those lyrics.
Yes, in my mind, this is free speech, and this is what he wanted to say. It's not my place in this life to tell him what to say.
And you feel that when a person uses those, which almost everybody in this room would be appalled.
Would the gentleman yield?
No, I will not yield. Everyone
I want to get a copy of what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. I'll be glad to give you a copy. I think everybody in the room would be appalled to hear those words in a public forum. Yet you're saying here today that you would support and not ban any of that word in any of your publications at Universal Music, is what you're saying.
That's correct, Mr. Congressman. I believe he has the right to say whatever he wants. That's my point of view.
And so that,
by the way, as I, in my testimony, said before, all of this is reviewed by different committees within the company.
Yeah. Mr. Brofman, you said in your opening statement that you don't believe in any absolutes. Is that correct? You use those words, I don't believe in any absolute. And you go on to talk about this contextual argument, and everything has to be framed. And you talked about the Beatles and the Elvis Presley, and I think Mr. Liggins talked about Mark Twain. But in your opinion, there's really no absolutes at all in your business, that you can have the total freedom for an artist to say or do anything they want with no absolutes in terms of our culture?
Well, I think that it is difficult to draw an absolute. We do review works. We are in constant dialogue with our artists. And as I said, when this material that you're referring to here specifically, Congressman, does get stickered. It is not generally available. It is not available.
But can't you go on satellite radio and hear this, and it's not stickered, it's not deleted, and all these words on satellite radio you can hear? Isn't that true?
Satellite radio is regulated by someone other than.
I understand, but Warner Music publishes this. In fact, the Cameron lyrics is published by Warner Music, in which it talks all about explicit sex. And so you've said that this is okay, we'll publish it, but if it comes to the radio, we'll dub it out. But when it gets on satellite radio, it's the full information, isn't it?
There may be explicit channels on satellite radio.
Yeah.
You can listen to their comedy channels. You can listen to any number of things where language like this is found, Mr. Chairman. And I think what's important also to remember is that while the language that you might find offensive here, and in fact many people, including myself, might find offensive in content that is produced by any number of entertainment companies, that's not true for everyone. And the relevance of this content in some communities is very different than the
Oh, I know. You could go across the spectrum and find people that have different tastes. I understand that. But you, as a publishing executive, you're saying that you're going to not censor anything if it has the N word in it, or the F word, or the S word, or explicit sex. In your opinion, today, that is okay, and it's a freedom expression.
That's not what I've said, nor is it what I've testified to, Congressman.
Okay.
What I've said is, to the question, would I put a ban on all work containing those words, I said no, and I wouldn't.
Do you support the Cameron lyrics as free speech?
I do.
Okay. So then you condone the words that are in here as free speech?
I recognize my responsibility.
Even to the cultural abhorrence of what particularly some of the...
I recognize that my role as a citizen and my role as a corporate executive are two different things.
Okay. Here's a question for you, Mr. Brofman and Mr. Morris. Have you ever consulted with one of your artists about lyrics that they should or should not put in their work?
The answer to that is yes.
Yes. Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, before my time's off, is it possible that I could go across the aisle to answer that same question, whether they consult with their artists about the lyrics that should or should not be put in the work? Mr. Dahlman?
I do not. I entrust programming decisions to the people who run our networks. As I mentioned in my prepared remarks, Deborah Lee oversees BT Networks and people below her, Judy McGrath, as well as people who run their networks. And I believe they do their job very responsibly.
So you have no interface then with the artist?
I personally do not.
Okay. And Mr. Liggins?
I don't either. All of our programs.
Mr. Zelnick?
Yeah, the buck stops on my desk. I certainly do. I do it all the time. Sometimes I annoy people when I do it.
So you'll actually call the artist up himself and just... Go ahead.
Bet.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you.